Had a little listen to his podcast, huh?
Dude, it's educational. And besides, I've been wanting to listen to this one.
Welcome to Idling in the Impala, a podcast by and for lovers of supernatural and the fan fiction it inspires. Before we begin, just want to remind you to follow us wherever you listen so you don't miss any episodes or bonus content. If you love what we do and want an easy way to show your support, please consider leaving us a positive, all the stars rating on your favorite listening platform. It helps SPN and fanfic lovers find us and share in the fun. I'm Sandra.
I'm Kasey, and it's another character episode. Woo!
Woo! And it's one where we're like, kind of not prepared, but we're going to try it anyway. Yay!
We weren't prepared. What was the last one we did that we weren't prepared for? I came in and I was like, babe, where's the document? And you were like, there is no document.
You know, I'm really trying to think because I feel like for Chuck, we had a document. For Jack, did we have a document for Jack?
No, it was more recent than that.
Maybe it was one of our rankings or something.
No,
Wayward Sisters. Wayward Sisters. We just did Wayward Sisters.
That's
what it was.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Mm-hmm.
That's what it was. That's what it was. So imagine my surprise, listeners, when I got online today and I was like, Sandra, where's the document? And she was like, there is no document. I have some articles to reference. And I was like, okay, the system only works if only one of us is wildly unprepared. You can't join me over here in the wildly unprepared camp. Otherwise, it all falls to pieces. But Sandra is unprepared in a manner that belies the actual preparation that she's done. So we'll be okay.
Mm-hmm. We think we'll be okay. Well, because the person that we're talking about, I feel like we have a lot of interesting things to say about anyway. And it's a beloved character, right? Like this is somebody that I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there probably is a camp somewhere that does not particularly care for this character.
It's impossible.
It's impossible. What? No, absolutely not. But
surely not.
Who are we talking about today?
We're talking about Charlie, everybody's favorite redhead. Everybody's favorite redhead. And I will try and keep this light up until the point when we get to the end, and then I could unleash furious rage. No, it's Charlie. We love Charlie, and I'm so fucking prepared. I have 2 different Wikipedia articles. Hey, look at me go, y'all. So let's dive into it. Charlie. Oh god, the wiki had the picture. Son of a bitch.
I know. I did see that too. Okay, so let's go back to, I think Charlie has one of the best entrances on Supernatural.
Oh,
I think
dancing in the elevator?
Dancing,
yeah.
Walking on sunshine. She's just got a really great, the cold opening with her, I think says so much about her as a character in just a couple of minutes, right? Like she's kind of like, she's working for this corporation. She's working for Richard Roman Enterprises, I think, also known as Dick. And, but how she's kind of like, she's already like bucking the status quo. You get so much in just a little bit of a conversation that she has with a coworker, then, seeing how she deals with her boss in the beginning and all of this. And you immediately see that she's a hacker, that she's got skills. She's got lots of skills, and she's just quirky and cute and fun, and then gets caught up in Sam and Dean's business. And it's all downhill from there for her, but kind of not, maybe kind of a situation, but I don't know. That's my thought when I first see her. I love that.
Yeah, I love her.
I love the episode. I really do love her entrance where she's like dancing and then all of a sudden the doors open and she's like, boop.
And it's like, what? No, I won't do nothing. Shut up. Not even a little bit. No, I agree. I love Charlie's entrance, and I look like it's a soap. It's a soap trope version. It's a trope subversion. But I'm actually just looking at some of the trivia now. So her character was created because Kevin McNally, who played Frank Devereaux, was unavailable for some episodes. So they needed someone to
they needed a tech person to take over.
They needed a techie. Yeah. And we could have got, I mean, like, Frank in himself is a trope subversion a little bit of the hacker that you see in the media, which is most excellent. But Charlie, she's just like, oh my god, she's so cool and awesome. And then you get to talk to her and you realize that actually she's like a little bit shy and a little bit like, no, I come to work and I do my job and let's go home. It's cute.
Yeah.
And yeah, unfortunately, she gets caught up in the wonderful world of the Winchesters.
Yeah,
Bless
season
her.
7. Season 7 is when she starts up. I always one thing I do like, and it's more like behind the scenes stuff, but like as you get more into Supernatural and you realize like certain people kind of help shepherd in or like are in charge of like an episode around a particular character. Charlie Bradbury is kind of I think born from writer like Robbie Thompson, who I love. I really do love like pretty much any episode he's been a part of. Most writers will get a producer credit too, and then the overall like, you know, written by. I just so appreciate his attention to, I think, backstory of a character too, and more stuff unfolds with her as we, you know, experience her on the show. But he does a really good job with her. I love how he takes care of her as a character. And he was not a part of writing the infamous episode. I believe he was one of the people that, you know, was like championing or really wanting her to not have to leave the show in the way that she did. So somebody else, 2 people actually took care of it. And they're 2 people I don't particularly like on the show in general in terms of their writing style and what they do. But that might be for another day. But yeah, yeah, she comes in season 7 after we get an idea. We don't actually see him die, but when Sam and Dean go back to Frank's trailer, there's blood everywhere. It's assumed that he's either been like, you know, taken or he's been killed by the Leviathans. And so just like with Ash, you know, having left us very early on, they kind of just keep having to bring people along to, you know, hold that mantle up. And I think they tried even with like one character in one episode after Charlie, but that never really came back either. So yeah, I really, she's light, right? Like, I mean, and she has a heavy storyline and there's a lot of backstory there, but she just brings a sort of like lightness and, ooh, this is going to be a fun episode. Like, you know,
Yeah.
when you see her, it's going to be fun. And so I think Dungeons, the girl with the Dungeons and Dragons tattoo, it was kind of just a great title too, because you know it talks, you just know what you're in for. And even the directing of that episode, they did a lot of like split screen and stuff like that. Yeah. Do you have another like favorite scene that you can remember? It's season 7, so I know we're pushing it because you don't watch a lot of episodes after season 7. But is there any like particular scene with Charlie?
It's not a scene with proper Charlie. It's a scene with Dark Charlie. When she comes back from Oz and she fights Dean, and you can see Dean who's just like, yeah, this will be a cakewalk, and then you see the moment where he's like, oh fuck. You know, and like, not to be too crude about it, but she's wearing leather trousers and they're wrapped around his fucking head. And that, I'm a simple mortal, y'all. I'm a simple mortal. I see porn where porn is.
Oh my gosh, yes. And Felicia Day, God love her. Felicia Day is just so great in general. But I remember her posting something about that scene.
Yeah.
she's like, I was worried about a lot of things that day.
Yeah, I can only imagine. But I really like Charlie's storyline ended appallingly. But for a period of time, it was really refreshing to see a girl get a chance on Supernatural, because we didn't see that very often. And obviously Rowena was never, I mean, Rowena and Sam were definitely fucking behind the library shelves, but she was never portrayed in a realistic like love interest for either of the boys. And I'm trying to think now. I don't think there was any. I mean, there was Lisa, but obviously that happened that way, and then there was Ruby, and that happened that way. But Charlie was kind of like one of the first characters to come in who could plausibly. I mean, she couldn't obviously by dint of her sexuality, but we didn't find that out until a bit later.
We found it out in that episode, her very first episode. You found it out.
Yeah, but I kind of feel like that possibly, you know how the fans do be. The fans do be. We could have, it could very easily have gone down a route of, oh yeah, she's a lesbian, but for the right guy.
But I feel like too,
You
like,
know?
again, and I don't know if this was like maybe Robbie Thompson trying to like armor her. Like, I remember in the very first scene, like she's talking about how like, you know, she hooked up with a girl at like, you know, this like fundraiser and charity fundraiser and stuff like that, you know, and like, you know, it's just like I feel like he was trying to, and then the whole scene in the van where like Sam and Dean are doing surveillance, and like, you know, it's just like, you know, all of
like
this
that
there.
scene.
That's a really good scene too, right? And it's just, I mean, you see the
without to get too, not tin hatty because that's J2, but without to get too conspiracy theory. How does Dean know how to pick up a guy so well?
Yeah, and Sam's like, huh?
Yeah, you saw nothing. Shut up. But you know, like, I feel like so often, and it's impossible to talk about Charlie without talking about LGBTQ plus representation in media. But there's so often, especially in something like mainstream, like Supernatural, which didn't really, you know, whether you agree with it or don't agree with it or whatever, like, kind of buried its gaze a little bit. But it, you know, it was a very heterosexual focused show. So I think there was, even though in Robbie Thompson's creation of the character, and she comes straight out of the gate going, I don't pick up guys, I'm into women, I'd slept with a woman at a charity, you know, like, there was still a very real chance that the show would have bowed to fandom and had her hook up with one of the boys, even as a drunken accident or something like that. There was that was always a possibility. And when it didn't happen, it was so lovely to see, you know, and the relationship. I know she had a good relationship with Sam, but the relationship that she had with Dean, you know, I think all of us have probably used that gif of Dean kissing her softly on the head. You know, we've sent it to friends and things like that. But it was just, it was like someone in Dean's circle in a completely different way to Castiel.
Yeah.
You know, and that is, I'm not like, I don't mean romantically or anything like that. I just mean like
the dynamic itself was just different. Little sister.
Cass was an angel. Yeah. And it was a completely different dynamic. It was a completely different relationship. But it was so good to see Dean with somebody like that and it not be romantic. And it was just.
And I think we've talked about this before, like, you know, there's certain things that you could tell that Sam and Dean just don't talk about with each other. But I saw this with Charlie a lot, with Sam and with Dean, where she's almost like she's that other confidant in a different way that, like, you know, they kind of like let down their walls a little bit and they're more comfortable talking to her. And I think that's just because of the character. Like Charlie as a character, she's not threatening. She's kind of unassuming. She's kind of just like going along with the, you know, she's asking questions, being very intuitive, and she is very intuitive, I think, with people around her. But then she's interested. She wants to know more. Like even though she gets sucked into it, she's like, I never want to see you guys again. And then the next time you see her again is one of the best episodes ever, LARP and the Real Girl. I mean, that episode is just so good for so many reasons and so many things. But that episode just shows her still trying to like keep her head down, stay out of trouble, but then realizing, you know, the boys are back and she's going to probably get sucked into it again. And then that leads into her wanting to find out more, wanting to really like just learn all these things that then end up making her a hunter, like, you know, being that side of it, like wanting to experiment, wanting to learn, you know, and all of this stuff, you know, unfortunately you could say goes down a path that probably, you know, we wouldn't want for her at the end of the day, but she does a lot of this stuff too because she cares and she realizes she can make a difference, and she can make a difference in the lives of the boys too by her skills, by her abilities. I mean, she ends up being the one that they reference on occasion, you know. I think she gave them that like unlimited credit card, you know, where they could just like go. That was one of their little like ways, you know, they kept things going too. She helped them in ways that they weren't able to do, and vice versa. You know, I think really did want to try to protect her from a lot of this stuff, but she was just a little too inquisitive. Like, no, I want to keep going. Yeah,
and I mean, I'm we've all been there sometimes. You're just like, what if I just a little bit more,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit more, and then suddenly like, oh no, how did it end?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, she's just, oh man, what can you say? It's hard because we're kind of dancing around the ending and then dancing around the last couple of seasons of the show as well.
Well, another really good episode was Pac-Man Fever, and I think that was an episode that for you was very difficult, but also I think like endeared Charlie to you even more because you got more of the backstory about like, you know, what happened to her parents and her mother, you know, how she was still trying to take care of her mom after a tragic car accident, and her, you know, her mom was in a facility where basically like she was in a coma, but you know, they were keeping her alive. There was a lot to that episode. It was still a very, I think, fun like it's one of those weird weird episodes, right? Like there's humor and then there's a lot of tragedy in it as well, but you're learning so much more about her as a character. I think that's where the scene at the very end is, like, you know, Dean hugging her. And I don't know if you wanted to talk about that episode. You don't have to if you don't want to, but I know we've mentioned it before. Yeah,
that's the that's an episode with a Jin, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just looking at it, but I mean the bit that we all remember is Dean in that outfit.
A lot of good moments, but it's fun.
I remember Charlie in her fucking outfit.
Charlie's montage, like, you know, the dressing montage, I think is great.
But montage,
yeah. She's great.
Yeah, when he snatches up a phone and turns the music over.
He turns the phone off and just like, you know, it's like everything's like back to like montage. Yeah, she's great. She's great that way.
I'm literally just looking up her outfit. And when I say outfit, I mean the outfit in the Jin Dream where she's all fucking Linda Hamilton badass.
Yeah.
Oh god, it's so fucking cool. Oh my god, it's so cool. Oh my god, she's so fucking cool.
She's such a good. She's kind of like Dean's counterpoint when it comes to like dressing up and costumes, right? Like they get really into it with these characters. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they get it. But no, that, so you know, she's in the dream and it's like a video game, isn't it? She keeps beating the levels, but they just keep getting harder, and it's one of those really awful kind of scenarios where the only way to beat it is to accept failure, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And as someone who has lost their mother, lost a parent, that's real difficult to give up on that.
Mm-hmm.
It is really hard, and it was very easy for me to see where Charlie was at with that. And you know, you just think, oh, if I just do this, then it will not be this way, and if I just do that, then it will be better. And it is difficult, and it was a hard episode to get through. But I think, honestly, probably one of the more healthier supernatural episodes with its attitude to death.
Mm-hmm.
Insofar as Dean being able to be the one to say to her, you have to let go. You can't, this is endless. You will never like beat this. You will never make it not what it is.
Yeah.
You have to let go.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, it's difficult to hear, but it's fucking healthy for Sam and Dean. That is healthy as shit.
Yeah.
I was so proud.
Yeah.
But yes, also he does wear that lovely outfit and he has a very large gun. And she wears that lovely outfit and she also has a very large gun. And it's very Linda Hamilton in Terminator. And I'm not ashamed to be like, I have the biggest crush on Linda Hamilton as Sarah Connor.
There we go. I was going to say, I blanked out.
Her name. I was like, it's Linda Hamilton. It's Linda Hamilton. Even in one of the newer Terminators where she's got white hair and she's old, but she's still a fucking badass. And I'm like, oh man, I still would though. Y'all don't even know. I still would. Oh my god. That, like, you know, everyone's got like most bisexual and pansexual, and you know, like people are attracted to more than one gender. Most people have like an awakening moment. Lucy Lawless as Xena Warrior Princess is pretty common. You know, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the various girls in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it was Lucy Lawless for me, but I defy anybody who was attracted to women. Fucking Terminator 2 when she's in the hospital and she's doing pull-ups on the hospital bed, and I was just biceps. Fucking hell. She crush your head like a melon and you thank her for it afterwards. feel like we got a little bit off track there. just a little bit.
Oh,
but no, that episode ends really sweet. They're all outside the bunker saying goodbye, and it's cute, man.
Yeah.
It's cute.
And then it hurts again because then that final scene with her. But it's
Which was see, the thing is, we talked about this. We did an episode about good deaths versus bad deaths. And I'm pretty sure Charlie came pretty high up on my list, if not the top of bad deaths. And it's, there are deaths that feel earned, and there are deaths that are important and plot relevant. And, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Not everybody can live. This is not fan fiction. You can't go back and rewrite. Well, I mean, they could, but, but it just didn't need to happen that way. It didn't need to be, they didn't need to get rid of her in that way. And I think it was more frustrating that it was like this random new baddie that they just pulled out of nowhere.
Yeah.
If it had been like, if Rowena had turned on her, I would have bought that, Yeah. If Crowley had come and done something, or it had been the Angels, or some kind of established threat.
Yeah.
I think we would have accepted that a lot more than this group of people that have been here for 4 fucking seconds that are in for this book, and then they kill one of the most beloved characters in the show. No. And oh god, that scene when they find her.
So for context, we're talking this occurs all the way in this is season 10. So this is one of the close to last episodes of the season. It's Dark Dynasty, and it's the one where Charlie is killed by the Steins because there's a lot of things wrong with this episode, and there are links to different articles that people in the fandom, rightly so, and even people cast-wise, people part of the show itself did not appreciate her being used as sort of a plot device to kind of push through Dean's Mark of Cain resurgence kind of situation happening with him, and having him go full dark side, feeling like that was what needed. A lot of people are saying that kind of pushed him. That's just it. She was meant for more than just being another plot device to further, arguably, Sam and Dean's what's been going on with them in the season. It just wasn't necessary, and it was a stupid. Arguably could have been a better bad guy all around, but I think that is they lost the plot trying to further the plot. I think is the problem with that episode. That
is the thing. That's what sticks with me, because I've seen maybe you see it floating around Tumblr, and it's ideas for writer's block and things like that. And one of the ideas that they say that if you're stuck in your plot is kill somebody, kill a character. Shit, what happens now? Well, I don't necessarily agree with that. It's it's effective as a way to get things moving along, for sure. If it was just another case of something being taken away from the boys to remind them that these outside connections make them vulnerable, and that people can and will be used against them in this way. Like Bobby, for example. You can scream and beat your chest that they didn't need to learn that lesson again, but it is very in keeping with the theme of the show, that isolation and that lack of community, and what does family mean and things like that. It's very prevalent. So if it was a long established threat that they'd been fighting against, and Charlie was the next victim of the bad guy's need to remind Sam and Dean that these connections make them vulnerable, I maybe could have tolerated that. But just these random, clicked out of fucking nowhere, literally bad guys for they want this book that Rowena has. So, and then it was she ended up being kind of caught in the crossfire because Rowena refused to give up the book, and it was a whole problem. And I was fucking really though? They could have killed Rowena in the bathtub, and she had about a bajillion resurrection thingies. She would have been fine.
I think the problem was too was the characteristic choices. Again, the choices that you put on a character in order to further what's happening. A lot of the stuff that Charlie did just didn't seem like Charlie. It's kind of like when we read a certain story and we're like, I don't know, it doesn't really feel like Sam, it doesn't really feel like Dean. It was kind of watching somebody just making X, Y, and Z happen, or have this character do something that really didn't seem like she would do that. Like, just because she was arguing with Rowena and she felt like she had to like finish the decoding, she had to leave, and of course, then it was like, Cass was in charge of both of them and, did his usual, like, what, she left and all that stuff. And, and again, it builds this rift, even more of a rift between Sam and Dean because of what Sam, asked Charlie to do for Dean, even though Dean didn't want. Again, it's all of these different things that, again, it's a part of the show. And it's one of the reasons why we sometimes, we love the torture, we love the tragedy, but it's kind of like, oh my gosh, sometimes moments like these, you just want to go, no, everybody's doing everything wrong. And it's really, really bothering me, kind of a situation. So
it is difficult. And I think it's interesting that the further we the more distance between us and the show now, I think we're able to look back on it much more reflectively and see these things as, well, yes, it was a point to drive a wedge again between Sam and Dean, for Dean to be able to turn around and go, you went behind my back and now look what has happened again. But better ways of doing it, guys. And also, fuck you, Charlie was a goddamn angel. She was a fucking delight.
Yeah.
A goddamn delight.
Yeah, and I just know so many people. It's always interesting to me because I've shown the clip to Ted too, I think a couple of times, where like at the Comic-Con, I think it was I guess the Comic-Con where they were getting ready to premiere season 11, and one of the fans in the audience asks, at the time it was one of the producers was Jeremy Carver, like, why did you decide to kill one of the, a queer character that way, just for, again, it was more about the representation, not even just a queer character, but of like women in general on Supernatural. We can get into this another time. I remember seeing like, I think everybody on the cast, they're kind of like, just like turn their chairs around. Like they were not going to be a part of that. Like they wanted Jeremy Carver to be the one responsible for taking that, because they obviously, you've never seen this?
No.
Oh, I'm gonna have to. I'll send it to you.
You got to send it to me.
Yeah, where I think it might be Jensen was the first one to like turn his chair around and like turn around, and like they all kind of like followed suit, just kind of looked over at Jeremy like, yeah, well, how about that? How about that? Yeah. So they really were not. I don't think anybody was really happy with the way that went. And I know from what I've read too, and again, I can link some of the articles. It sounds like, Robbie Thompson really did, like, he didn't understand why she had to go out like that. And I wonder too, if like that was why he is not the writer of that episode, like he might've said, well, I'm not going to write her out that way. You just don't know. But I would assume there's a lot of reasons why it happened the way that it did. So yeah, no, it hit people on a lot of different levels. And then again, you always think, well, there's a chance nobody's really dead on Supernatural. Nobody really like dies on Supernatural. There's always a chance they're going to come back. She's one of the ones they did not bring back. They brought back a version of Charlie. And they did that with Bobby as well. Apocalypse World Charlie, which again, no fault to Felicia Day, but it's not our Charlie. And it kind of feels like just like, I think pandering in a way that just doesn't. Yeah,
they'll go, look, we gave the bag. Shut up. Yeah. I don't like the Apocalypse World characters coming back. Not coming back, but I don't like the Apocalypse World counterparts, because every single time I thought I was over Bobby's death, and I was like, okay, I've dealt with this now. It would fucking appear for an episode. It'd be friggin' that episode with him and Rufus in the house.
Yeah.
Or, Apocalypse World Bobby, whatever. Every time I was like, I'm beginning to process this. Oh, there he is again, and now I'm starting.
Yeah.
But Apocalypse World Charlie did something that was really important that I kind of feel like we should have seen from Bobby, Apocalypse World Bobby as well. She calls Sam out. It's either Sam or Dean. Oh, it would be one of them, wouldn't it? The show is about those two. Mm-hmm. But I feel like it's Sam. But she says to him, I'm not your Charlie. Yeah. I want different things. I want to go find my girlfriend and I want to save her. and I don't want to do the things that you are expecting me to do.
Yeah, yeah.
And I
think it does
that's
happen.
really important.
Yeah. I think it happens with Bobby too in a couple different ways, but it's not as like blatant, like, you know, having that discussion, but you see it, you know, and you see like
I feel like the thing is with Bobby was a hunter, quote unquote, in Apocalypse World, wasn't he? So he kind of just fell into the group of hunters that came through, and I feel like he fell quite naturally into that.
I think Charlie was part of the resistance in a way as well in Apocalypse World,
but I don't think she was a quote unquote hunter. Like,
I don't know. We'll have to dig into that.
We'd have to look into it. Yeah. But no, it was. I think Bobby, that kind of, you know, being part of leading this group of hunters and overseeing things and finding things out, I think that came quite naturally to Apocalypse.
He fell into it easier with the boys, where I think this version of Charlie was very much like, no, I don't, like, you know, I'm not a part of this, whatever this is you guys are doing. Yeah.
And it was, you know, it was real clear. She was like, I'm not your Charlie. I don't want the things that you want me to do. These are not things that are important to me. And that always stuck out to me. It was always really important because everyone else in Apocalypse World seemed to just fall into line. There didn't seem to be any kind of culture shock or, you know, technology shock even. We don't know what the tech was like in Apocalypse World. But then everybody just seemed to fucking settle in real nice. But Charlie was the one that was like, no, I'm not, you're putting a dead person's expectations on me and I'm not here for it. But yeah, unfortunately, she does fall under the whole, I wish that if you were going to bring people over from Apocalypse World, they should have been brand new people.
It would have been better just to not have done it. Like, you know, it
would have been better to do that. Yeah, it's
fan service in a way that it just doesn't hit the mark.
It's painful fan service. It's like, oh, here's your person.
It's just a reminder.
Really your person. Yeah, and I'm like, Bobby, ow, my feelings.
Just as it's a reminder for Sam and Dean, it's a reminder for us as a person that we would like to have back, but isn't quite there anymore. Like, just isn't there anymore. It's.
Yeah, and it's not. Things. It's all the more painful to see that and it's not right. You know.
Yeah.
I think another great example of this is it's in the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So spoilers for like Endgame and shit like that, but it's been a few years now. So.
I think I know what you're going to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah, but Gamora dies, and when they change the timelines, they do something and they change the timelines. And they make it different so she's alive again, but it's not Peter Quill's Gamora. And he also does the same thing. He puts all these expectations on her that she's the same person that he lost. And she does the same thing. She turns around to him and goes, look, I don't know who your girlfriend was, but I'm not her. We're not the same person. You have to stop this.
Yeah.
You know, and it's difficult to watch personally as someone who has lost somebody very close to me like that.
Yeah,
you kind of just like, you know, it's like that, oh, I'd give anything for like one more day and stuff like that, and you're kind of like, oh, I would, but also it's not an infinite day. You have to say goodbye again. You have to lose them again. Is that better or worse than just to stay where you are? And I personally am of the opinion that it is better for me, certainly I won't speak for everybody, but it is better for me to stay where I am than rip those wounds open again. And I feel like that's what SPN did with the Apocalypse World stuff.
Yeah, I agree. There's a certain amount of closure that, like, you know, you need in storytelling too, like, you know, some storytelling. And I think, you know, we talked about too how Supernatural kind of like sort of lost some of that weight because of that, you know. Well, we can bring them back, but then, like, it's like, well, when you want them to bring somebody back, they're not bringing back, you know, the actual, like, person that you want to have back, kind of a situation. So it's a lot. But as you can tell, we really did love Charlie, and we wish we could have had, like, real Charlie back, and not Apocalypse World version Charlie.
And she does have another one of the best scenes in the whole show, which is in Lap and the Real Girl, and Sandra already knows what it is, I'm sure.
Oh, the Belladonna?
She was killed by Belladonna. Yeah.
It's a little bit of wind sync with another person that I think is great to see Dean have with Charlie.
It's not even that. It's Sam's really confused face.
Like he does that little like, oh.
The poison question mark. Yeah.
Oh. And then they nod again. I think like at the same, yeah. It's
they're
great.
like, oh no, we totally meant that. Shut up, what porn
I
stuff?
think it's so much of the geeky part of Dean too, like that kind of comes out too in such a great way.
And I think that's she kind of bridged the gap between them. You know, they like Supernatural annoyingly had kind of established Sam as the brains and Dean as the brawn, and everyone was like, and it becomes a running joke. I read and stuff like that, and like Dean's smart as fuck. You just didn't get a chance to show it. But Charlie kind of bridged that gap a little bit because she had so many like geeky things in common with Dean and equally geeky things in common with Sam.
Yeah.
Kind of just.
I think it's more like the pop culture stuff, like that kind of part of it. Like, you know, he just kind of like, he and Charlie just kind of like clicked, like not necessarily like the games and stuff like that or all that, but like, you know, those like certain parts, they were very similar in a lot of ways. And he was just given some time to just kind of, one of the things we always say that we love is when we get to see the boys just be able to just be, you know, and just enjoy, like him being able to LARP, like you could tell. Like, even though, you know, he loved it.
He's saying the speech from Braveheart. It's the only one he knows.
So it's all of that stuff. You know, they get a chance to just be normal for a little while. And I think she gives them those opportunities. Not a lot, but the little bits here and there. And I think there was even like a reference, like, you know, they were going to go back and LARP again, like in a previous, like a later episode. Like, you know, he was going to go back and like do the things. And it's like, you know, it's nice to know that gives them an opportunity to do those things in this crazy universe that they're a part of. It's just
and again
nice.
She has another of my favorite little one-liners with Sam when she sets up her tablet and it does all the fucking all the magic, and Sam's like, I hate that thing, I want one. Just like, yeah, that's so hard. She's so cute. We love Charlie so much and we miss her.
Yeah.
And Felicia Day is a goddamn angel. BT dubs.
Oh,
she's a gosh darn angel.
I like, one of my things about the conventions is I wish she would like just come to one that I could go to, because I would love to just get an opportunity to like, you know, see one of her panels and maybe even like, you know, do a photo op with her, because she just seems so adorable, and she's so congenial and has so much. She has fun with the fans too, you know, and I think that's great when you see somebody that really does just get into it and really loves their character too, and you know wants to be around people that enjoy that aspect of it. So yeah, she's great, and she does a lot of stuff. I mean, she just seems to be always busy doing things.
She's very busy, yeah.
Yeah, she's great. I love her. I think Ted follows her on Instagram or whatever. It's like, you know, and I do as well. But like, he's like, hey, did you see Felicia Day? I'm like, I did. I did see what she posted. It was cute, wasn't it? So yeah, we love her. She's one of our favorite redheads, I think, without a doubt.
One of our favorite redheads.
Well, we should wrap this up because we have more recording to do, but we wanted to just take a little trip down memory lane with Charlie as she walks on sunshine and just does all the things and brings a smile to everybody's faces. So, but yeah, we want to know what you think of Charlie. Is there another character maybe, you know, that you feel didn't really get their, I mean, there's a lot, but like in particular for you, didn't get their due, you know, or just didn't get treated correctly? And if there's somebody else that you think we should do a deep dive about, you know, let us know. Maybe we'll do the thing. So you can email us at idlingintheimpala@gmail.com. You can comment on Spotify in the Q&A section, leave a YouTube comment, join our Discord and chat with fellow idlers and us in real time. Check out our merch store, which is another fun way to show your support. If you do decide to go into our merch store, remember that we're doing our Priding in the Impala fundraiser. It's called Ride with Pride. We have some really great and cool merch. Make sure you grab some before the end of June, because once it's gone, it's gone. And you can find details for everything, merch, all the things on our website at idlingintheimpala.com. Want to fuel our supernatural road trip? Consider joining us on Ko-fi for as little as $1 a month. We have perks to go along with different membership tiers and would love to have you along for the ride.
Speaking of perks, we've got special shout outs for some of our Ko-fi members. From our Shotgun Pixie Music tier, we've got Crowley's Mistress and Runaway Dreamer. And from our own Mrs. Butters tier, we have Charlie. Thank you so much for picking the tunes in the car and keeping the lights on in the bunker. Support like yours really helps us keep the podcast going. Thanks, guys. Don't forget, you can always support us for free by liking, commenting, subscribing on YouTube, and following, rating, sharing on audio platforms. Engagement really helps us with the algorithms. All hail their benevolence. As always, we have the causes that we support in the description. So for me, you have LGBTQ plus talking charities. From Sandra, you have mental health charities. And as always, the main causes that we are highlighting, championing, spotlighting are World Central Kitchen and Doctors Without Borders. If you want to know more about these causes, while you're over at idlinginttheimpala.com checking out the merch, you'll see a page called Causes Cause that has all of the details. So with that, we will say thank you very much for joining us in the back seat, and we'll see you next time, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.